All right, good morning, everyone. So I'm starting a few minutes early. I apologize, but I figured I'll just talk for a quick couple seconds, and that way people that join in a little bit later won't be behind in terms of the coding. So kind of the process for today is I just wanted to build out Ninja Gold and just kind of show how I build something live. And then because it'll be live and I won't be doing too many shortcuts, you guys should be able to code along with me. And then when I'm done, I'll just put this up on GitHub and you guys can pull it down if your code that you code along with me doesn't match or isn't working the same way my code is working. So I think that the plan is, feel free to Slack and contact Chris because he'll be monitoring the Slack channel while I'm coding. If it's something that he can relay to me, I'll try to answer the question on air if it's something that he can't type or if it's some code fix that you guys want to see me do. All right, so I think that's the plan. Hopefully it'll go pretty smoothly and we'll get it done. All right, so I'm just gonna start off with my same file structure that I've been kind of showing you guys before. And I have my week 2, day 2, and I have an index.php and a process.php page. And so the process.php page is basically gonna be doing all of my logic, and the index.php page is going to output some variables but be primarily HTML. All right, so getting going, starting our PHP. Let's do a session start. So this just allows us to use the session variable. All right, and that's all I'm going to have for now. So where I'm going to go next is I'm going to talk about what part of the project are things I'm going to have in the project. So my overall logic is going to be as follows. So I want to have if sessions gold, so I want a gold variable isn't set, meaning we're just starting, and set that to 0. I have some comments that I want to output. If messages don't exist, take the first message, something like welcome to Ninja Gold, choose your adventure. Right. So, and then the last thing I do with whenever I'm doing anything with PHP is I have a start over page or button or a delete session. So just because as you build more of these projects and you're building a lot of things, if you can't clear your session, it can generate errors, especially if you like to name your variables the same sorts of things. And so you'd be like, oh, I have that variable, and it breaks your code in some other project. So I like a session clear. So make a session delete button. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is build the logic behind visiting different events on the page. Those events are going to be home, save, casino, and farm. That's basically all of the logic that we're going to build in this process.php page. All right, so let's just get right to it. All right, so the first one, we want to set the gold if it isn't set. So we can use the following logic. If not is set, session gold, oops, _ session. Oops. Okay. Gold. We want to do something. We want to say $ session gold. 0.
I might have missed this, but could you explain again why do you need to check if session goal is set or not first?
Yep. So basically, these are setting up our starting conditions. And before we can manipulate a variable, we have to make sure that variable exists. So, so basically we're saying, does this variable exist? If it does, or if it doesn't, then make it exist. Otherwise, we can manipulate it down later in our logic. So similarly, we have a messages variable. So we say if not set session messages, we want to set them. And our messages are going to be kind of interesting. So they're going to end up being the most challenging thing, I think, of this whole project. And they're a session variable that is an array. Right. So let's set the first member of that array. So how do we set an array? We just use brackets. So we have messages, so it's plural at this point. And we're going to set it to, this would be an empty array, but we want to actually populate that with something like, welcome to Ninja Gold, choose your adventure. With some grammar fixes that need to be in there. Choose your adventure. Great. So now we have our two variables set. And then I'm going to make my delete button. And the delete button is going to come over from some sort of event that occurs on our other page, because we want to be able to have something that the user can interact with, which is everything that the user is going to be able to interact with is going to occur on our index.php page. And so we're going to use the other type of variable. So $post delete. And again, we're going to say if this thing is set, so this time we're asking, is it present? So if we have this variable anywhere in our post, then we're just going to do session try. This clears our session variables. Right. So where is post going to come from? It's going to come from a form with a method post. Alternatively, we could use $get and have the form index.php page have a method of get, or no method. Great. Right, so we've got to cover our base conditions. Now we want to basically go through and do different things if there's a home, a cave, casino, or a farm. Right, so again, we're going to use this if is set $post, because again, we're going to pass this stuff through from a form. And we're going to have the variable called enter building. So I like my variable names to kind of reflect what kind of action they're doing. And this from the form is going to be the name passed from the form. So key value of $post or get comes from the name attribute of the form, not the value attribute. Right. So then we're going to do a switch case on what the value is that comes out of this thing. Switch. Basically saying, is this key set? If it is, then we're going to switch on it. And switch is basically just an abbreviated version of an else if statement. The farms aren't really buildings, but whatever. We'll be okay with that. So at this point, we say this key is set, and its value will be one of home, cave, casino, or farm. All right, so we make a bunch of cases. Case, home, break. Case, cave. Case, farm. Case, casino. Awesome. Now, what do we want to have happen when we do each of these things? Well, we want to change some sort of variable. We want to say, make some gold. We're going to set a local variable called gold, rand. And when you go home, I believe the values are between 5 and 10. You go to the cave. Gold you get from a cave adventure, and 20. You go to the farm. The gold that you get from a farm adventure. Let's go with 5 to 15. And rand just generates a random number between 5 and 10 in this case. Casino, we're going to just have a simple casino right now, which is about half the time you lose between 50 gold and gain between 50 gold. We can put some other logic in it later. Great, so now depending on which building you enter, you're going to have a local variable set to some amount of gold, 5 to 10 if you go to the home, 10 to 20 if you go to the cave, 5 to 15 if you go to the farm, negative 50 to 50 if you go to the casino. Great, so that's all local at this point. So we can't access that our index.php page. Got from entering that particular. So let's say we clicked on the home button in a form that generates 7 gold. When this variable is now equal to 7, we go to our session gold, and whatever it was before, we add 7 to it. Then we can go back to our index page and report that 7 gold increase with session gold. But we also want to have a message. So let's make a message. We've got our messages, and remember it's an array. So how do we add to an array? We say empty bracket, so that's going to be a new member of that exact same array, is equal to, and let's just make a string that has some PHP or some HTML encoded in it. The general HTML we're going to have is you entered the, and then we want to break this and say which building we actually entered. So we're going to concatenate strings, we're going to end the quotes, and then use dot notation to input the type of building that we entered, which we can get from $post, and we access the value by calling the key, enter building. And what happened when we entered that building? We got some gold. So space and you, whoops, you earned. And again, we want to break this string.
Mike,
Yeah.
could you share the screen again?
Oh.
I think it's only show you.
Awesome. Sorry, guys. Can you see if it's sharing again?
Yeah, let me double check. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hopefully it's back. So hopefully it wasn't gone that long. I don't know if it was or not. Again, who grabbed that? Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
All right, so we have this string right now where you entered, we input the string that's coming from the post event, which building we entered, and then how much gold we earned. And so this isn't the session gold, it's just the gold that we earned at this particular time. So we say $gold. Great. So everything's looking pretty good. But what we don't have going on is we don't have anything happening when we actually finish this. We just have all this process going on. It does it, but we want to return that page back to our index. So location. Oops, sorry. But we can use the header tag. And we do quote, capital location, colon, space, and then whatever URL that we want to go to. In this case, we want to go back to our index.php page and exit. So I like to exit after any header change, just to make sure that I'm going where I want to go and not trying to send multiple headers. Great. So hopefully we're building out everything that we want. We're going to go find out in a second, but we're going to build out some stuff on our index.php first. So let's make our index.php page relatively simple. So on our index.php page, what we want to have is we want to have a session start so we can actually get to our session. And then the very first thing we want to do is make sure that everything is set. So let's do that. All right, cool. Hopefully we're back. Sorry again. Sharing screens again. And closing, hiding this thing. Going back to Atom, sorry, I mean index PHP. All right, so hopefully we're back in. So location, at this point, we're basically going to go and say, go back to our process.php page. Cool. Again, sorry about this. I don't know what's going on with our internet connection. It's really windy down here, or up here, or moderately windy. So maybe some things going on there. All right. So basically we said, hey, if there's no gold, let's go back and make sure that all of our basic pieces are set. And so we're going to go over to our process PHP page, and that's going to set all of our initial variables. Great. So then let's build out some HTML. I just changed the type on our page, so I can do that. And I'll change it back to PHP in a second. Great. Okay, so now we're going to give this thing a title. Let's call this thing Ninja Gold. Go style. Great. So in our body, we already know a few things that we want to do. We want to do an H1 tag that basically says something like "Welcome to Ninja Gold." I'm going to try to type more quietly. I know it's right next to the speakers. I've got some comments about that from other people. So welcome to Ninja Gold. And then let's just make a quick p tag here that says you have, or you currently have. And then we want to output something from PHP. And so if we want to just output something from PHP in just a short echo, we can do left caret question mark equals. So that's the shorthand of equals, or of echo. And then we can say, and what we want to output is session hold. We've already made sure that that's set up here. And if it wasn't set, then we're going back to the process page, which then will send us back here one more time. We don't have to do a check to make sure that that session goal is currently there. So that's what this lines 3 through 7 are doing. And then we just close our p tag. Great. So hopefully that'll be working. Another thing that we know that we're going to have is we're going to have a form. That form is going to have an action going to equal process.php with a method of post. And again, I'm switching code types on you guys, so I apologize for that. I'm trying to fix that. And this form is just going to be our delete form. So it's going to have a submit button, input type equals submit, value equals restart game. So that would be fine, except when we go over, it's not passing any information over. So what we want to show on our page is something that says, hey, there's a button here that will restart our game. But what we want it to do is we actually want it to do some sort of, or pass in some sort of information. So we don't want to show the user what that information is. So we're going to use this hidden variable type. So type hidden. And again, the name is what the process.php is looking for. So let's just go over there and look at what the name was that we have over there. And the value in this case doesn't matter, but let's call it delete. I just don't remember what I named it. I either named it delete, which is my normal naming, or if I give it a better name. Yep. So we want to pass a name, so a key value of delete. So that's what we should give the name of this button. Cool. All right, so now we have a way to delete our session variables. And so then let's just do one last thing for now. And we're just going to var dump our messages. So again, we know based on our logic over here, if we've gone to this process.php page and come back from it, which was forced from this event here, that our messages are going to be set. We could confirm that by just doing another and, or rather an or, just to make sure that our messages and our goal are set. Basically, this says, if gold's not set, then do this, or if message sessions is not set, then go over and go back to our process.page, which will process.php page, which will set either or both of these. And what we're going to do over here is we're just going to var dump that session. We want to see what it is. Just make sure everything's kind of working the way we think it is, and then we will move on from there. Great. Fingers crossed this is going to be working. There's a good chance that it's not because there was a lot of code in here. So let's go ahead and take a look. Let's see here. Ninja Gold. Oops. Sorry, it'll take me a quick second here. So I'm just going to bring back Adam and pull this in here, and then just drag our index.php page. No, we don't need to do that. Sorry, guys. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. We just load our server, so our server should be up and running. Localhost 3000 is where I have this thing running. Oh, cannot use isSet on expression. You can use null does not equal expression instead on index line 3. So let's go ahead and look at what that comment is and see how we need to fix it. So I think what happened is I just forgot a parentheses there. So I think that statement is fine. I just had a typo. So let's go ahead and take a look. Oh, still have unexpected parentheses. Let's go ahead and look again. Set session. And I have one too many here. Cool. And now Adam is highlighting these two that are matching. Just make sure that those next ones are matching. Great matching. Great matching. Okay. So hopefully that'll get rid of that one. We did have some other errors around. Oh, nope. Great. So this is why I had this whole restart thing. So I had built this earlier, and I had stuff in my session already, and I didn't clear it. So notice that I have gold coming up. I have all this other information in this array. Let's restart our game. Oh, so now I have to go back to process PHP and look at what that code is. Line 18. Let's go ahead and take a look there. So go to our process page, PHP page, line 18. So we have if is set, and I think I forgot a semicolon. Oh man. Cool. So now I'll go ahead and take a look again. Great. So now we have kind of our basic couple of pieces. We have gold being able to be set to 0. We have this string. Whenever we restart the game, it'll reset and clear our gold and clear our array and leave us with an array of just this string. Awesome. So now let's do some logic on our events that happen. So we have these events that we've already kind of planned for: entering the home building, entering the casino, entering the farm, entering the cave. So let's build some stuff on that. All right, so basically all those are going to be is just some forms. All right, so let's go back over and build those forms. So on our index.php page, We no longer need this because we see that our session messages are looking pretty good. So let's build some more forms. And these forms are going to look very, very similar to this one that we already have. So I'm going to copy that form. We have 4 locations, 1, 2, 3, 4. The name that we're going to be passing through isn't delete, it's what? Enter building, right? So we're looking for a key of enter building, and so that's going to be the name from the form. So I'm just going to change these 8 deletes to enter building. And then the value is going to be different on which type of building it is. So let's do home first, a farm, a cave, and a casino. So key, value. All right. And then we want to change what type of submit it is. Go home, farm, cave, and gamble. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what that's now looking like. All right, so now we have some buttons. We can go home and get some money. Pretty sweet. We can go to the farm, get some money. Go to the cave, get some money. You can gamble, get some money, and lose some money. So things are actually looking like they're working pretty well. Great. So let's go ahead and look at our messages and kind of go back and look through the logic that we just did. So I'm going to actually split the screen so that we can kind of see what's going on and talk about the logic at the same time. So there's a correlation between the buttons and the code. Oops. Great. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this form here. So form action, it's going to the process.php page. When we click this button, it's passing through a $post with a key of enter building with a value of home. All right, so we click on this thing, it goes to the process.php page. It says, okay, this is set. This is already set. Then it says, is $post enter building set? Yes. In this case it is, because we're clicking on this thing and submitting that form. So then we enter the switch. The switch says, what's the value that's in this enter building currently? And in this case, it's home. And so we take gold and we make it set equal to something between 5 and 10. Let's say things weren't working the way we wanted them to. How I would deal with that is I would be like, oh, well, things aren't quite working the way we want to. So we'd say $gold and then die here. Dead in house. All right, so let's go ahead and run that and see what happens, just to kind of break up the logic a little bit. So again, our index.php page is working just fine. So now if we try to go home, we're going to go to the process.php page and go through that same logic we just did, enter this switch statement, and if we hit home, we're going to make a gold and make a random number between 5 and 10. We're going to output that golden, and then we're going to die there. So let's enter the cave just to see. Okay, so cave works fine still. Let's go home. All right, so here's the var dump of $gold, and here's the dead message, dead in the house. So that's looking like it's working the way we want it to. So because all the other things are also kind of the same way, so cave's going to work the same way, so that's fine. Farm's going to work the same way. Casino's going to work the same way. All right, so now we're down here and we're at the messages. So messages are going to be, as I said, the most challenging part. So let's go ahead and just var dump and die our messages here. We've kind of already seen what they do because we made sure that they existed before. And is there a problem here? I think there might be. So I keep saying messages, but what's written down below there is message. So session message, messages. Let's go ahead and see what our messages look like. So we've gotten rid of our die-in house. So we should be able to just refresh our page. Oh, cannot modify header info. All right, so here's our messages. Welcome to Ninja Gold. Choose your adventure. You enter the home and earn 6. All right. So why did we get that double header message? So we hit this thing, and it turns out that var dump is a header pass. And notice I didn't die or exit right after that. So the code kept running and said, run this, and then it got to line 47 and it's like, oh, trying to go somewhere else again? We can't do that. So that's why you always die after you var dump. Let's just make this grammatically more interesting. Oh, earned X amount of gold pieces, right? So we'll go ahead and continue. All right, so I resubmitted that form. And now we have, welcome to Ninja Gold, choose your adventure. This is the var dump, and here's the die session messages. Great, so it looks like we should have our messages coming back reasonably well. So let's get rid of those 2 pieces. And let's go back to our index.php page. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to output those messages in some sort of fashion. Awesome. So let's go ahead and make some PHP to do that. All right, let's put it in between these 2 forms. So we're not gonna, we have delete and restart the game down at the bottom. Let's just restart the game now, just for fun. All right, so I have lots of PHP here, and lots means just gonna iterate through an array. We're gonna reopen our PHP tags. And then we're gonna write a for each. And then we're gonna use $ session messages as message. And let's just echo message for now. See what we get. Great. So we echoed that first to the farm. Awesome. Things are looking good again. All right. But it turns out what we want to do is we want to have the last message showing up here, or the most recent message on the top. So how are we going to do that? Well, we know we want the very first index to stay at the top. Welcome to Ninja Gold, choose your adventure. I want to keep that there. So that's the 0th index of our session messages. So let's just keep that one present. And we're going to just echo. Right, so I'm going to our session messages, which is an array, getting the first member of that, which is the 0th index. And that's it for now. There are a bunch of other ways to do this. I'm just doing this kind of off the cuff. I wanted to show you guys iterating through an array backwards. So let's make sure that's working. Great. So welcome to Ninja Gold. Choose your adventure. And then we want to go backwards through this array, right? So we just did a for each loop. Let's do a different type of loop. Let's do for. We want to go backwards through this loop. So we want to say $i equal to count. And this is going to get the length of this session messages. -1. Greater than or equal to 1. $i, and we're going to go from the back to the front, so minus minus. And slide this over because this looks kind of ugly right now. That looks a little bit prettier. Semicolon here. So variable I equals count, session messages, so that's the length of the array, -1. So that's the last index of the array. I is greater than or equal to 1. And then I minus minus. Okay, so things are looking good. Let's go ahead and echo out our messages. If we can't do messages like we did last time, we're going to have to do something similar to this, right? Because we're going to go by index value instead of by key value. And then we're going to close our PHP tags. See what happens. Oh, I made a mistake. We don't need this last semicolon. So let's go home. So we enter the cave last. So let's see what happens if we go home, and that should be at the top. Perfect. So far, so good. And then let's just do 1 or 2 more things and then call it a completed project. You guys can style it on your own if you want. So we'll go back over to our process.php, and we are going to put just a very, very small amount of styling. For if we earn gold, we're going to make these things green. And if we lose gold, we're going to make them red. All right, so how are we going to do that? We're going to do that with this logic here. So we have on 37, we say $session, gold plus equals gold, so that's great. And then our messages are going to be dependent on whether or not we earned gold or lost gold. So if gold is greater than or equal to 0, then do what we had before. We say sessions messages, and then you enter the building and you earned this much gold. Great. And let's just make it class equals green. Notice the use of single quotes inside the double quotes. That totally works. Otherwise, we want to say session messages, same general idea, but we don't want to earn gold. We want to say you lost, and we're going to change the class to red. Basically, we say, and all right, be right back. Screen sharing is having issues. Oh, sorry. So let's go back here. Go to alpha 0. Sorry, it's going to take me a quick second here. Gold box. Oops, sorry, it's going to be down here. Screen share. Are we back up and running? Let's find out.
Nope. Still me.
Well, it should be not me again in a second. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Come on, you can do it, little. Come on. Sorry, guys. This is kind of ridiculous.
Do you reshare it?
Yeah, tried to. All right, so let's try one more time. Screen share. Stop. Screen share. Entire screen. Sure. Switching. All right. Once again, we're back. I hope. Fingers crossed again. What the heck? I mean, that just made me on delay, right? Let's see. This is not loaded. Well, I'm going to keep going for a quick second while Chris checks to see whether or not this is working. So I'm just going to refresh. It's looking fine. Go to our index.php page and then add some styling. We're just going to do inline styling as much as I don't like it. Nope, that's me live, right? Dang it. All right, Google. Why are you not screen sharing? Okay, I'm going to stop screen sharing again. Going to start screen sharing. I'm going to try this one more time here.
I think it's playing the same group.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like, which?
You,
Did I stop the broadcast or something?
well, it's still live. It says still live.
Okay. Sorry, working on the screen sharing part right now, guys.
I think it's keep looping through this. I don't know why.
Huh. And awesome. Okay. Abandoned mission. So stopping broadcast here. Because it seems to not be working. And
You switch to a different network and try one last time.
Yeah.
To Omega.
how long was that going on for?
Like 5 minutes.
Awesome. Failed to stop broadcasting. What the fruit bat? What was that? All right. All right. Let's see here.